Step into a world of romance and mystery with Tamora Rose. Today we're reading chapter 26 of Child of the Wind. Almost an hour later, Jett emerged from the bathing chamber carrying his dripping wife. She was still curled against his chest and gave no indication of moving on her own. That suited him just fine. He sat on the edge of the bed and stood her before him. When he urged her to stand on her own, her eyes fluttered open. Amber orbs blinked at him as he reached for a towel with a smile on his lips. Jett dried her slowly, but when he touched her more sensitive areas, she flinched just a little. Jett withdrew immediately. "Just how sore are you?" He hadn't exactly been gentle last night. "I'm fine," she insisted. Not convinced, Jett pulled her into his lap. "I only wanted to bring you pleasure, lovely," he murmured. "I can wait until tonight." Canace sighed. "Maybe I can't." Then she blushed at her own words. Her husband only laughed and set her on her feet. "Come, we should dress." Though she followed him into the dressing room, she frowned. "But my gowns are still in my old room. Actually, they should be packed and on their way to Barsland by now. But I pulled 3 for you to choose from." "You pulled 3. Jett grinned at her. "You sound skeptical, but I assure you I did indeed take myself to your dressing room so that I might select 3 gowns. With a shake of her head, she returned his grin. They entered the dressing room together, and there were indeed 3 gowns hanging prominently before her. They were all similar in style, free and flowing and fastening down the front. One was a bright blue, one rose pink, and one a vibrant green. Her hands trailed over the green one as Jett dropped a kiss on her shoulder. She glanced at him mischievously. "And did the mighty Earl of Barsland also choose shifts, stockings, and nay," he replied. "I want you just as you are. I wouldn't even let you wear a gown if there weren't other people about." When he touched her sensitive body, she moaned. And when he released her, she stomped her foot in frustration. "That's not fair," she whimpered. Jett nibbled her ear. "Get used to it. I intend to tease you until I take you to bed tonight." "We could go back to bed right now." As soon as those words were out of her mouth, she turned, stood on her toes, and molded her lips to his. Caught off guard, Jett wrapped his arms around her, pressing her body into his. She was so warm and soft, so tempting that he very nearly took her on the floor of the dressing room. Then he remembered her tenderness and stopped immediately. "No," he said with all the firmness he could muster while her naked body was pressed against his. "We have to get to Barsland, and I want to be there today. I want to have you on our own bed." That last sentence took the sting out of his rejection. Disappointed, but not really offended, Canace nodded and turned back to the green gown. Her body still trembled from his touch, but he was as affected as she was. Knowing he wanted her as much as she wanted him soothed her wounded pride. But he was right. She was sore, and they did want to be at Barsland as soon as possible. There really wasn't time to dally. And yet, when she pulled her gown on and went to fasten it, his hands were suddenly there, toying with her as he slowly tightened her laces. By the time she was appropriately fastened, they were both panting again. Canace leaned back against him. "If you keep doing that, you'll have to take me back to bed." "I'll gladly take you to bed," he murmured against her hair, "but not until we reach Barsland." "And we'd better hurry." Canace blushed at how forward she sounded, but she didn't take it back. Jett only laughed, found his own clothing, and dressed quickly. Taking her arm, he led her back to the bedchamber. He almost left the room completely, then he remembered something and pulled her to a stop. "I want you to ride with me on the way to Barsland." As those words left his mouth, he braced himself for the storm. She didn't disappoint. As his request registered, she jerked her arm from his grasp, whirled, and glared at him with murderous eyes. "How dare you?" she snapped. "I am perfectly capable, I know." Before she could get away and before she could continue her tirade, Jett pulled her against him. "You ride as well as any man, better than some. I'm not questioning your skills." Her eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. Feeling her continued tension, Jett didn't release her, but he did nuzzle her hair. "We've only just been married. I'm not sure I want you so far away just yet." He tried to kiss her, but found her cheek instead as she turned her face away from him. Undeterred, he explored her ear, letting his tongue and lips arouse her. In moments she was moaning for him, needing him, and he hadn't even moved his hands. "Ride with me," he whispered as he nibbled her earlobe. Canace shook her head. "Ride with me," he repeated, moving his hands down her body. His touch was too much to deny. She threw her head back as her legs gave way. Her body had just started to fall when Jett scooped her up in his arms and laid her out on the bed. Desire made her tremble, but pain made her flinch away. Jett saw it and stopped. "Pain isn't an aphrodisiac, lovely," he said with a tight smile. "There's always tonight." Since his touch had hurt more than she was willing to admit, and more than it had just a few minutes earlier, she didn't argue with him. She was even beginning to think riding with him would be a good idea. So when he covered her again and held out a hand to help her rise, she gave him a hesitant smile. "I'll ride with you, if you like." Her voice was breathy from arousal, but it was still strong enough to be heard. Jett's smile turned gentle. "Because you want to, or because you're perhaps too sore to want to ride?" She blushed. "Does it matter?" He shook his head because it didn't. He didn't have time to press her for an answer anyway. They had to be off as soon as possible. As he guided her out into the hall, she pulled away. "I'm not wearing any shoes," she whispered. He gave her a quizzical look. "Do you want to wear shoes?" Canace bit her lip, thought about it, and finally shook her head. "Then don't worry about it. We're only riding, and it will be just the two of us." The smile he received made him glad he hadn't insisted on shoes, a corset, or even a pair of stockings. She truly enjoyed having the freedom to not wear the more confining articles, and he saw no harm in indulging her for the moment. As long as they were only here at Barsland, and as long as they entertained no guests, he would not insist she adhere to current English fashions. There would come a time when she would have to wear a shift, and perhaps even a corset, but for now he approved of her soft and unbound appearance. As they moved down the stairs, he noticed a certain stiffness in his bride. She didn't bounce the way she normally did as she clasped his arm just a little too tightly. Assuming the stairs caused her some discomfort, he swept her into his arms, cursing his ungentle lovemaking all the while. "You don't have to carry me," she whispered, though she rather liked it when he did so. Jett grinned. "Maybe not, but I like the way your nearly naked body feels in my arms." A blush spread across her face as she realized she was indeed nearly naked. The fabric of her gown clung to her legs and hips, and they were quite clearly outlined by the drape of the silk. "Maybe I should put a shift on," she whispered worriedly. He glanced down at her and laughed. "Don't worry about it. It will be less noticeable when I set you on your feet." Biting her lip, she decided to take him at his word, but her face turned a fiery red when they exited the manor to find his entire family and Duncan waiting for them. When Jett set her on her own 2 feet, she had to resist the urge to kick him. She might have given in to the urge if she'd been wearing any shoes. Instead, she was forced to endure the knowing grins and one disapproving frown. Duncan did not appear happy. Not at all. But it was Edward who first approached. "So, little brother, off to Barsland so early?" Since it was at least 3 hours later than Jett normally rose, the irony of that statement made Jett chuckle. His bride, however, turned a little purple. Taking pity on her, Jett decided not to respond to his brother's teasing. Instead, he left his brother's side to bid farewell to his mother and sister-in-law. It would speed their departure and give Canace a moment with Duncan. She took full advantage, gliding over to her former guardian as quietly as she could. Though she allowed him to wrap her in his embrace, she couldn't bring herself to look him in the eye. Surely he knew what she and Jett had done last night, and the very thought made her nearly expire from embarrassment. "Are you all right?" he asked as he released her. Her blush deepened further, if that was possible. So acute was her humiliation, so painful that she couldn't speak. She could only hang her head and wring her hands. Seeing her response and not wanting to increase her distress, Duncan let the matter drop. A change of subject was in order. "Will you be all right at Barsland?" He was justifiably worried about her being mistress of her own house. It wasn't something he'd prepared her for. Canace nodded, but didn't look up. "Jett says we have a staff that can run the entire estate well enough." "That's not entirely what I meant." "I know what you meant." Only now did she glance up into his anxious eyes. "It's a little late now. He's my husband, for good or for ill." There was certainly truth in that, even if Duncan didn't like it. Since he couldn't think of anything helpful to say, he hugged her close once more and made her a promise. I'll come visit you at Barsland before I return to Scotland. His word was his bond, that much she knew, so they'd have a visitor at Barsland shortly. But first she'd have to be entirely alone with her new husband. She couldn't even pretend not to be nervous. But prolonging their parting wouldn't help, so Canace gently extracted herself from Duncan's grip and took a quiet step back. Gracing him with a smile she hoped was reassuring, she turned and moved to her husband's side. "Are you all right?" Jett asked as he wrapped his arms around her. Canace nodded but said nothing. Jett exchanged a few words with his father, then called for the horses. Both Epona and his own mount had been saddled. There was no immediate need for the dark mare. When he tied her reins to his saddle and lifted his bride onto his own horse, everyone blinked at him in surprise. No one had expected the spirited Canace to ride with her husband, and they certainly hadn't expected she'd ride side-saddle fashion. But the lady in question just smiled, adjusted her thin skirt, and slid up the saddle a bit more to make room for Jett. Her husband gave her a wicked grin, one that made her blush to the roots of her hair, before mounting behind her. Because they had already said their goodbyes, Jett wasted no time. He urged his horse into a gallop and watched his wife send a jaunty wave over his shoulder. Then she promptly burst into tears. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this chapter, stay tuned for more tales of romance. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with passion and just a touch of magic.